Good afternoon, and welcome to today's presentation. My name is Neil Butt. I'm the project manager for the New Mexico Environment Department's Clean Diesel Program, administered by the Air Quality Bureau. I would like to briefly discuss the funding program, then I will walk through the application. Afterwards, I'll answer questions. Before we get started, let's review a few housekeeping items. Audio is available for this presentation through your computer or by telephone. Please keep your microphone muted to avoid background noise and feedback. If you have a question during the presentation, please type it into the chat box. We'll have a dedicated time to answer questions at the end of the presentation. If you're experiencing any technical difficulties, please contact us through the chat box and we will try to troubleshoot the issue. Closed captioning is available on the bottom left corner of your screen. We will post this presentation on our website for those who are unable to attend today. The application period for DERA funding started on October 17th, 2025, and will continue until the grant funding is exhausted. Applications will be evaluated, and successful applicants will be awarded funds on a first-come, first-served basis. While projects from the entire state will be accepted, special consideration will be given to projects located in or adjacent to those counties with levels of ozone at or above 95% of the National Ambient Air Quality Standard, or NAAQS, for ozone. That is Bernalillo County, Doña Ana County, Eddy County, Lee County, Sandoval County, San Juan County, and adjacent counties. To be eligible for this funding, the vehicle being replaced, or donor vehicle, must be an engine model year 2009 or older. Unless the new vehicle is zero emissions or low NOx, in which case the donor vehicle can be any engine model year. The available DERA funds consist of two separate grants. The fiscal year 22 grant is in the amount of $139,800. A project funded under this grant must be completed by August 31st, 2027, to allow sufficient time to process the reimbursement. The FY24 grant is in the amount of $389,000. A project funded under this grant must be completed by February 28th, 2027. Applications should be sent to me via email. So what is the Diesel Emissions Reduction Act? Well, thanks to EPA regulations, diesel engines manufactured today are cleaner than ever before. However, because diesel engines can continue to operate for 30 years or more, millions of older, dirtier engines are still in use. Combustion of diesel fuel produces nitrogen oxides, fine particulate matter, carbon dioxide, and air toxics. Reducing exposure to diesel exhaust from these engines is especially important for human health and the environment. Exposure to diesel exhaust can lead to serious health conditions like asthma and respiratory illness, and can worsen existing heart and lung disease, especially in children and the elderly. These conditions can result in increased numbers of emergency room visits, hospital admissions, absences from work and school, and premature deaths. Emissions from diesel engines can also contribute to the production of ground level ozone, which damages crops, trees, and other vegetation. Acid rain can also be created, which negatively affects soil, lakes, streams, along with the plants, animals, and other organisms that live there. These emissions can also contribute to property damage and reduced visibility, for example, regional haze. The New Mexico Environment Department provides grant funding through the New Mexico Clean Diesel Program for projects that effectively reduce these harmful diesel emissions from existing heavy-duty diesel-fueled vehicles and equipment. This program is funded by EPA through the Diesel Emissions Reduction Act, or DERA. In 2005, the U.S. Congress passed the Diesel Emissions Reduction Act as an amendment to the Energy Policy Act of 2005, authorizing the Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, to administer a national and state level grant and loan program to promote emissions reductions from legacy diesel engines. DERA was designed to reduce diesel emissions from existing diesel fleets that did not meet the federal emission standards at that time. The EPA is responsible for overseeing and distributing the DERA funds to states who administer the program. For more information, you can visit the EPA Diesel Emissions Reduction Act funding website, shown at the URL here. So what is the New Mexico Clean Diesel Program? EPA is awarded funding to NMED, who in turn serves as a pass-through agency, providing sub-grant funding through its New Mexico Clean Diesel Program for projects that reduce harmful heavy-duty diesel emissions. Since 2008, the Air Quality Bureau, which manages the program, has awarded over $2.3 million in grant funding for qualifying diesel emissions reduction projects. Examples of these grant-funded projects are listed on our website. There are 2 DERA projects currently being funded. The first is for Bernalillo County Fire and Rescue, which was awarded $417,718 to replace a 1991 engine model year diesel-fueled Class 8 Pierce brand dash fire engine with a Pierce Volterra battery electric fire engine. The fire engine is currently being used in a supplemental role at stations across Bernalillo County in the event that a primary fire engine becomes inactive due to repairs or a station requires additional response capacity. The other project is for United Parcel Service. They replaced 22 older diesel-fueled package cars with 16 new Class 5 California Air Resources Board, or CARB, certified low NOx compressed natural gas fueled package cars. UPS was awarded $473,222, which is 34% of the total project cost of $1.4 million. Under the DERA program, a replacement vehicle whose engine is certified to meet CARB's optional low NOx emission standard can be reimbursed at 35% compared to the 25% reimbursement for a replacement vehicle whose engine meets the EPA NOx emission standard. This project will remove harmful diesel emissions from Albuquerque, Santa Fe, Carlsbad, Silver City, Clovis, Hobbs, and Farmington by relocating all of the new vehicles to operate out of Albuquerque and by switching to CNG. UPS is committed to reducing its impact on the environment and supporting the communities they serve around the world. UPS operates one of the largest airlines and one of the largest fleets of alternative fueled vehicles under the global UPS brand. So who may apply? Any public or private entity or nonprofit organization based in New Mexico, in existence for at least 3 consecutive years, and whose vehicles or equipment are registered in the state of New Mexico. What projects are eligible? Eligible projects include, but are not limited to, idle reduction technology, aerodynamic technologies, and the retrofit or replacement of diesel vehicles and equipment throughout the state. The grant funds will be used for the purchase and installation of EPA or CARB certified and verified technologies, or vehicle, engine, or equipment replacement utilizing a zero tailpipe emissions power source in accordance with DERA funding guidelines. Eligible diesel vehicles, engines, and equipment may include buses, both school buses and Class 5 through 8 transit buses, Class 5 through 8 heavy-duty highway vehicles, such as refuse and commercial transportation, marine engines, locomotives, and non-road engines, equipment, or vehicles, such as those used in construction, handling of cargo, including at ports and airports, agriculture, mining, or energy production, including stationary generators and pumps. The existing vehicle, engine, or equipment must be fully operational. Operational equipment must be able to start, move, and have all necessary parts to be operational. The participating fleet owner must currently own and operate the existing vehicle or equipment and have owned and operated the vehicle during the 2 years prior to upgrade. The existing vehicle, engine, or equipment must have at least 3 years of remaining life at the time of the upgrade. Remaining life is the fleet owner's estimate of the number of years until the unit would have been retired from service if the unit were not being upgraded or scrapped because of this grant funding. The remaining life estimate is the number of years of operation remaining, even if the unit were to be rebuilt or sold to another fleet. The remaining life estimate depends on the current age and condition of the vehicle at the time of upgrade, as well as things like usage, maintenance, and climate. The replacement vehicle, engine, or equipment should resemble the replacement in form and function. Funding cannot be used for the purchase of vehicles, engines, or equipment to expand a fleet. Highway usage. To be eligible for funding, the existing on-road vehicle must have accumulated at least 7,000 miles per year during the 2 years prior to upgrade. One exception is if a recipient can demonstrate that a certified highway engine or vehicle is being used in a predominantly non-road application. For example, fire trucks or utility trucks that idle for long periods to power auxiliary apparatus. Engine operating hours is defined as non-road usage, may be used for application eligibility purposes. Non-road, locomotive, and marine usage. For agricultural pumps to be eligible for funding, certified non-road agricultural pumps must operate at least 250 hours per year during the 2 years prior to upgrade. For all other non-road engines to be eligible for funding, certified non-road engines must operate at least 500 hours per year during the 2 years prior to upgrade. For locomotive and marine usage, to be eligible for funding, the existing certified locomotive and marine engines must operate at least 1,000 hours per year during the 2 years prior to upgrade. Scrapping the vehicle, engine, or equipment. The vehicle, engine, or equipment being replaced must be scrapped or rendered permanently disabled within 90 days of being replaced. Equipment and vehicle components that are not part of the engine or chassis may be salvaged from the unit being replaced. For example, plow blades, shovels, seats, tires, batteries, etc. The replaced vehicle must be scrapped by drilling a 3 by 3 inch hole in the engine block and disabling the chassis by cutting through the frame rails on each side. A scrappage statement signed by the vehicle owner and the dismantler is required. A sample scrappage statement can be downloaded from our website. And that's what these pictures here indicate. The picture on the bottom left is a hole in an engine block, and the two pictures on the right are frame rails that have been cut in half. Special consideration. While projects from the entire state will be accepted, special consideration will be given to projects located in or adjacent to those counties with levels of ozone at or above 95% of the NAAQS for ozone. That is Bernalillo, Doña Ana, Eddy, Lee, Sandoval, San Juan, and adjacent counties. Information about these areas can be found in the New Mexico Environment Department's Clean Diesel Program guidance document, which is posted on our website. I would now like to walk through the application step by step. For the project title, you will enter the name of the project, and to the extent possible, include the organization name and type of fleets involved. For the number of vehicles, you'll enter the number of vehicles per fleet location. If an applicant has fleets statewide, the applicant must only include the vehicles for the project area as described in this application. Then put your organization name, your responsible official. Here you would enter the full name of the person responsible for the funding. This will be the person with signature authority and oversight over the project. Then title, mailing address, location. Then where it says organization's unique entity, there on April 4th, 2022, the unique entity identifier used across the federal government changed from Dun & Bradstreet Data Universal Numbering System, commonly referred to as a DUNS number, to the unique entity ID generated by the System for Award Management, or SAM.gov. The unique entity ID is a 12-character alphanumeric ID assigned to an entity by SAM.gov. SAM.gov is an official website of the U.S. government, and there is no cost to use it. You can use the site to register to do business with the U.S. government. As part of this transition, the DUNS number has been removed from SAM.gov. Entity registration, searching, and data entry in SAM.gov now requires the use of the new unique entity ID. New entities can get their unique entity ID at SAM.gov, and if required, complete an entity registration. Applicants for a DERA grant must have an active registration on SAM.gov and be in good standing at the time of award. For example, not suspended or debarred, covered by a prohibition or restriction, or otherwise excluded from doing business with the government. However, you may apply for a DERA grant while your SAM.gov registration is being processed if you do not already have a SAM.gov account. The DUNS number is now optional, no longer required to apply for a DERA grant. For contact person, you will enter the name of the person who will be the department's primary contact. The contact person may be the same person as the responsible official. If so, please notate as same as responsible official. Phone number, email, organization type. Here, individuals are not eligible to receive funds unless they're applying on behalf of a public entity or a private entity or nonprofit organization. A public entity is defined as the state and units of state government, a political subdivision of the state, including a municipality and its subdivisions, a school district, or an organization composed of political subdivisions of the state. A private entity is defined as any entity that is not a unit of government, including but not limited to a corporation, partnership, company, or other legal entity. A nonprofit organization is defined as a group that is registered as a 501c3 or 6 under the Internal Revenue Service Tax Code and described therein. For your fleet address, please enter the address where the fleet resides. This may be a location other than the organization or responsible official's address or project area. Description of applicant's organization. Please provide a summary of the applicant's organization, including the organization's size and type of work performed. If the proposed project operates outside of the state, the applicant must provide the percentage of time your organization will operate the affected equipment in New Mexico. The equipment must operate within the state at least 75% of the time. For those fleets that operate outside of the state, the applicant must provide a documentation verifying the operating time within the state as Appendix A. Include the number of hours and/or miles traveled within the state. Note in the summary whether the proposed vehicles utilize an international registration plan. Also include any environmental measures utilized by the organization, such as anti-idling policies that reduce emissions. For Appendix A, documentation verifying the operating time in New Mexico, NMED does not have a standard template for Appendix A. So by whatever means the applicant is able to document the estimated number of hours and or miles traveled in the state, the equipment operates within the state at least 75% of the time will be accurate. Will be accepted, I mean. Project funding. Here you put the funding you're requesting, your cost share, that much that you're contributing to the project, the total project cost, and estimated scrap value for the vehicle that you're disabling to get the figure for total project cost. And next, you will check whether or not you will be asking for a funding waiver. A funding waiver is necessary if the applicant is unable to meet the specific required cost share for that type of project as stipulated by the guidance and requests that the percentage contributed by EPA be increased. For example, the applicant is replacing a vehicle but cannot afford to only receive the standard reimbursement, for example, 25% for a diesel to diesel project. Then they would apply for a waiver to receive a greater percentage. NMED will consider, on a case-by-case basis, and submit to EPA for approval requests for waivers from programmatic requirements. Waivers will only be approved for non-statutory or non-regulatory requirements. The applicant must provide sufficient justification for the waiver. The state must obtain EPA approval for any waiver request before commencing any work or the expenditure of funds on a project involving a waiver request. Any questions regarding waivers should be directed to the NMED project officer. Project location. Here you'll check whether the vehicle will reside within New Mexico. Will the vehicle permanently reside at the project address? And will the vehicle operate under an international registration plan? If you check no to either of the first two questions or yes to the third question, then please provide a detailed explanation of the project location summary. Details to address in the project location summary shall include a detailed description of the primary area or areas where the affected vehicle or engine operates, or the primary area where the emissions benefits of the project will be realized. Also, a description of the routes and estimated miles traveled, and a summary of whether the project will be sited in an area where all or part of the population is exposed to diesel emissions. For those fleets that travel statewide, provide a percentage of time spent in the various locations. A map of the project location is required to be included as Appendix B. Fleet and equipment description. Please provide a completed vehicle information sheet as Appendix C. A standardized form is posted on our website. Also, please provide a copy of the fleet's vehicle replacement policy or schedule as Appendix D to the application. The applicant must provide a detailed summary of the old equipment, including the make, model, and model year. Summarize the expected useful lifetime of the project-funded vehicle or equipment and how it will be used by your organization, including a description of how the applicant's vehicle replacement procedures meet the attrition or fleet turnover requirements. Please describe why this project would not have occurred without these funds. Appendix D Fleet Replacement Schedule. NMED does not have a standardized template. The applicant will need to outline the company's standard procedure for vehicle replacement. This could be a company document or just an explanation of when the specific vehicle type is normally replaced by the company. For public agencies, there are usually formalized retirement periods. For example, the statutory retirement of school buses after 12 years of use. Funds cannot be used for emission reductions that result from vehicle equipment replacement or repowers that would have occurred through normal attrition or fleet turnover within 3 years of the project start date. Please complete the use of funds restriction form. There is a standardized form posted on the website, and attach this to your application package as Appendix E. Normal attrition. Engine, vehicle, and equipment replacements that would have occurred through normal attrition and are considered to be the result of normal fleet turnover are not eligible for funding under this program. Normal attrition is generally defined as a replacement that is scheduled to take place within 3 years of the project start date. Normal attrition is typically defined by the vehicle or fleet owner's budget plan, operating plan, standard procedures, or retirement schedule. For example, if a school bus fleet typically retires vehicles after 12 years, a bus that is currently in its 10th or 11th year of service is not eligible for replacement. But a bus that is currently in its 9th year of service and has 3 years of service remaining, as defined by the fleet's retirement schedule, is eligible for replacement. Normal attrition does not include replacements that must occur due to a state or local mandate. Expected environmental outputs from project. Please provide a detailed summary of expected environmental outputs associated with the project. The term output means an environmental activity, effort, or associated work product related to an environmental goal and objective that will be produced or provided over time by a specified date. Outputs may be quantitative or qualitative, but must be measurable during an assistance agreement funding period. Please specify the proposed technologies that will be used for this project, including why the specific technology was selected. With the exception of all electric technologies, grant funding may only be used for EPA or CARB verified and certified technologies. Please review the NED CDP guidance for a complete listing of eligible equipment that is eligible diesel emissions reduction solutions. Additional project outputs to be included in the summary include the number of years that the technology will remain in the fleet, and for a list of project outputs. Project outcomes and project benefits. Here you'll list the total project lifetime emissions results in tons and cost effectiveness for NOx, PM fine, hydrocarbons, carbon monoxide, and fuel usage, as well as our cost effectiveness and the amount reduced. NED requires that all applicants use the US EPA diesel emissions quantifier for the emissions calculation and cost effectiveness shown at this URL. The applicant must provide a copy of the diesel emissions quantifier report as Appendix F. The applicant must complete the total project lifetime emissions benefit results and cost effectiveness table. The information provided in this table is for the total project, not for the individual units. Next, I'll run through a demonstration of the diesel emissions quantifier tool. The diesel emissions quantifier is an interactive, web-based tool for users with little or no modeling experience. It evaluates clean diesel projects and upgrade options for medium, heavy-duty, and heavy-duty diesel engines, and estimates baseline emissions, reduced emissions, cost effectiveness for NOx, PM fine, hydrocarbons, carbon monoxide, and CO2, and PM-related health benefits. Shown here is the landing page where you can begin by selecting the Use the DEQ button. Next step is to create a user account. Once you've created a user account, you can create a new project by pressing the Create New Project button. On the first Create New Project screen, you enter the project name, total project cost, estimated, and press the Save Project button. Once you have saved your project, you will be directed to the Update Project Information page, where you will select what type of replacement project you are planning by selecting the Add a Vehicle or Engine Group drop-down menu. In this example, we select refuse hauler. Once you've selected the vehicle or equipment type, you will be taken to this page where you will enter group name, for example, vehicle replacement, target fleet. There's a drop-down menu, and here we've chosen refuse hauler. Next is class. This is also a drop-down where you can choose 5, 6, 7, or 8. Here we've chosen class 8. Next one is sector. For example, municipal. Quantity of vehicles replaced. Baseline engine model year. That is the model year of the vehicle being replaced. Baseline fuel type. For example, ultra low sulfur diesel fuel. Annual fuel gallons, or you can choose the default if you don't have the records or an estimate. Annual miles traveled, or use the default value. Annual idling hours, also you can use a default value. Upgrade year, that is the model year of the new vehicle. And remaining life of baseline engine or vehicle, for example, 3 years or more. When you are finished, press the Save Group button. Next, you'll need to enter the information for the new vehicle by selecting the Add and Upgrade pull-down menu and selecting the type of upgrade. In this example, we will choose vehicle replacement. Once you have selected the type of upgrade, you will be taken to this page where you'll enter Upgrade, that is replacement vehicle fuel type, new engine model year, new annual fuel volume, or the default value, upgrade cost per unit, and labor, labor cost per unit. When you're finished, press the Save Upgrade button. Next, you will quantify project emissions by pressing this button. And your emissions results will be displayed. And at the bottom of the page, you will have an option to download results in 3 different formats: spreadsheet, importable CSV, and printable report. This last one, printable report, is the one you should submit with your application. Now, returning to the application. Please describe how this project will meet the requirements of the Diesel Emissions Reduction Act by reducing environmental risks to the public and sensitive populations. Include how this project will reduce environmental risk to the economically disadvantaged and other populations with disproportionately high and adverse human health or environmental impacts. Please include the impacted communities in the project location to include total population, percent minority, and percent low income, which is defined as $25,000 annually or less, as well as proximity to hospitals, medical facilities, elderly facilities, and schools, including daycare. For full credit, include a map which shows the locations of these facilities relative to the project area. You can use the United States Census Bureau website to find demographic data, for example, minority populations and low-income data, at this URL. Please attach a screen print of each web page that displays the required demographic data as Appendix G, and the map that shows the affected area as Appendix H. Low income is derived from the Office of the Assistant Secretary for Planning and Evaluation, poverty guidelines, using data for family of four with an annual income of $26,000, $26,200 or less. For fleet projects that service multiple areas throughout the state, the applicant must provide a detailed summary of the route, screen prints as Appendix G, and a map for each area serviced as Appendix H, along with the percentage of time the fleet spends in each affected area. Now I'll demonstrate how to use the U.S. Census Bureau website. The U.S. Census Bureau provides demographic, socioeconomic, and environmental information for your project area. To utilize this data, go to data.census.gov. On the home page, first enter the name of the city or county where your fleet resides into the search bar, along with the data you are looking for example, poverty, and the year, for example, 2025. 2. Select the magnifying glass icon. 3. Then click on the city or county that is displayed on the right side of the screen, which will give you or a web page displaying the name of the city or county you are looking for, along with data such as population, poverty, and ethnicity. 5, the population will be displayed under the heading Populations and People. In this case, the population estimate for Doña Ana County in 2020 is 219,561 people. 6, the percentage poverty can be found by clicking on the heading Income and Poverty. This will bring you to this page. 7, which indicates the percentage of poverty in Doña Ana is 18.3% as compared to 8, a statewide percentage of 16.4%. 9, ethnicity can be found in the same way by clicking on race and ethnicity. 10, the percentage ethnicity can be found by dividing the numerical value of a specific ethnic group, for example, 147,672 Hispanics, by the total population of Doña Ana County, which 219,561 people, to give you a value of 67%. Now returning to the application. This section covers air quality in the project location. Please describe any special air quality concerns within or within close proximity to the project area. For example, located in an ozone non-attainment area, nearby federal class 1 areas, or EPA designated priority counties, and include a qualitative description of the area's diesel emissions due to high impact features such as truck stops, railroad yards, distribution centers, interstates, etc. The applicant must provide a detailed description of how the project will reduce environmental impacts in the project location as it pertains to the air quality standards and proximity to Class 1 areas. Please indicate whether the project is located within or adjacent to an area designated as non-attainment for the NAAQS for ozone, currently only Sunland Park in Doñana County, or within or adjacent to a county whose ozone design value is equal to or greater than 95% of the NAAQS for ozone. Currently, this is Doñana County, Lee County, Eddy County, San Juan County, Sandoval County, and Bernalillo County. Or if it's within or near a designated priority county listed in the MED Clean Diesel Program guidance document. Please describe the proximity in miles to the nearest Class 1 area. If there are additional Class 1 areas within 100 miles, list all of them. A map of the federal Class 1 areas located within the state and in surrounding areas can be found at this URL, these two URLs. Please include, please include a map showing proximity to federal Class 1 areas relative to the project areas Appendix I. Next, we have community engagement and partnership. Please provide a summary that outlines project partners involved in this project, any community activities associated with this project. Project partners include government entities, school districts, or community organizations. Next, we have fuel type. Select all applicable fuel types for your proposal. Projects are not limited to using one fuel type. Projects can use multiple fuel types, such as compressed natural gas or electricity. Should the project, as proposed, require additional fueling infrastructure, please provide a detailed summary of the infrastructure that will be needed for this project, including dates of completion that correspond to the project completion date. Next, we have the ability to be deployed in a timely manner. Please provide a description and summary discussing the estimated time of delivery for equipment or vehicles to include a brief discussion of the applicant's purchasing process. Next is purchasing procedures. Please provide a detailed summary of the applicant's purchasing procedures, ensuring that all vendors will be selected in accordance with state procurement and public contracting laws and federal procurement regulations. The applicant must follow state purchasing procedures as applicable, found on the State Purchasing Division website shown here. The New Mexico Procurement Code, sections 13-1-28 through 13-1-199 and MSA 1978 as applicable, and the applicable requirements contained at 2 CFR 200 entitled Office Management and Budget Guidance, Uniform Administrative Requirements, Cost Principles, and Audit Requirements for Federal Awards. In particular, procurement standards at 2 CFR 200.3 200.317 through 200.326. This must include price agreements in place, bidding processes, or other purchasing procedures. Next, we have your previous grant experience. Please provide a brief summary of previous grant experience, including the year awarded, the funding organization, and the purpose of the grant funding. Also, please indicate whether any funded projects were not completed and provide an explanation of why these projects were not completed. If all projects were completed, please indicate it in one sentence. Before I finish today and take questions, I wanted to mention another potential source of funding to replace diesel school buses with zero emissions and clean fuel school buses run by the EPA, called the Clean School Bus Program. The Clean School Bus Program is a 5-year, from fiscal year 2022 to 2026, $5 billion program created by the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. By the end of 2024, the EPA had made 3 rounds of awards to 1,344 school districts, totaling some $2.8 billion and replacing 8,342 buses. Over 98% of these funds have gone towards purchasing electric school buses. The EPA stopped accepting applications to the 2024 Clean School Bus Rebate Program on January 14th of 2025, but anticipates awarding up to $965 million to fund new zero emissions and clean fuel school buses in the near future. The Clean School Bus Program will contribute to healthier air, reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and save money for school districts. Phasing out these diesel engines will ensure cleaner air for students, bus drivers, and school staff working near the bus loading areas, the communities through which the buses drive and through which the buses drive each day. Diesel air pollution is linked to asthma and other conditions that harm students' health and cause them to miss school, particularly in communities of color and tribal communities. The reduction in greenhouse gas emissions, such as CO2, from these bus replacements will also help to address the outsized role of the transportation sector in fueling climate change. The majority of greenhouse gas emissions from transportation are carbon dioxide. The combustion of fossil fuels, such as gasoline and diesel fuel, used to transport people and goods, was the largest source of CO2 emissions in 2020, accounting for about 33% of total U.S. CO2 emissions and 26% of total U.S. greenhouse gas emissions. This program will also save school districts money as they upgrade school bus fleets, replacing older, heavily polluting buses with brand new clean school buses, while freeing up needed resources for schools. On October 26, 2022, the Biden-Harris administration announced the fiscal year 2022 recipients of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's Clean School Bus Program rebate competition. 5 school districts in New Mexico were awarded $4.5 million to acquire electric buses, including Las Cruces for $1,975,000 towards 5 electric buses, DERA Municipal Schools near Portales for $610,000 towards 2 electric buses, Dulce Independent Schools near the Hickory Apache Native Reservation in northern New Mexico, headquartered in Dulce on Highway 64 west of Chama and east of Farmington, for $790,000 towards 2 electric buses, Lake Arthur Municipal Schools north of Artesia and Carlsbad for $790,000 towards 2 electric school buses, and Pecos Independent Schools, which is east of Santa Fe, for $395,000 towards 1 electric bus. On August 13, 2024, Senator Martin Heinrich visited Los Ranchos Elementary to announce that for funding year 2023, EPA had awarded Albuquerque Public Schools $6.9 million for 20 electric buses. I appreciate your time and attention, and I will now answer any questions you might have. Liliana, are they able to unmute themselves?
I thought so. Let's see. Can someone try to unmute themselves, and if not, put it in the chat?
I think we can.
Thank you so much.
Hi, yeah, I think I'm good to have a good understanding of the program. Thank you for your time.
You're very welcome. You have any questions?
Application deadlines, it's until the funding is exhausted, right?
That's correct. We're on a rolling basis, so as they come in and I evaluate them for suitability and eligibility and then potential funding. And at this point in time, I have not received any applications.
Okay. And as far as non-road equipment, I assume airport ground equipment would fall under that.
I believe so.
Okay.
You could send me this scope of your project in an email, and I could verify it before you spend a lot of time on the application, if you'd like.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I just want to say that was very thorough. Thank you, Neil. I'm from the city of Santa Fe, and we're looking at some different vehicles. So thank you that was really thorough, and I look forward to receiving the overview so I can go through it with some different fleet managers. So thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Mm.
And then in the very near future, I'll post the video and my slides on our DERA website, the MED DERA website, so that you can either forward it or show it to anybody who was unable to attend today. And also you can review it if you want to. If they have an hour of time, they can watch the video, or if they want to get to the meat of the matter, they can also, I'll have the slides posted and they can click through till they get to the part that's most important to them.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Village of Eagle Nest is asking in the chat, is the grant for scrapping separate from fully operating fleet?
So it's just one grant, the DERA grant, and what you'll apply for it. And if you're eligible and suitable and you get awarded the money, then you replace the vehicle that's already on the ground now with a new vehicle using your financing. Then once the new vehicle gets here and you've paid for it and you disable the old vehicle, which is where the scrapping comes in, then you provide me with proof that it's been scrapped and you provide me with the proof that it's been paid for. and then I generate the reimbursement procedure, and then the money flows to your account. And so there's no separate purchasing, disabling. It's a matter of applying, qualifying, being awarded, spend your own money on the vehicle or equipment. Then once it's here and the new equipment and or vehicles on the ground, the old one's been disabled and I've got proof of all of that and I verify it, then I process all the financial aspect of it, and then you'll receive funding for whatever you're awarded for. Does that answer your question? Okay, good. This is a little confusing. And then it also has to, I think I mentioned it, but it has to be like for like. So you can't have a dump truck and then replace it with a garbage truck. It's got to be, if you have a dump truck that's working right now and has remaining life, and you replace it with a dump truck. And that's the one that's going to be scrapped, is that old one that you're replacing. So they're not going to be operating at the same time. I mean, they operate for the same time, but once the program, the grant is finished, that old one will no longer be back out on the road. It's just a new one. And then, as I mentioned, whatever's valuable on your old vehicle, you can keep all that. Our main intent is so that the diesel emissions are not back out on the road. So if you want the tires or the battery or spare parts or anything that's of any value to it all, that's totally yours. You don't have to dispose of it. You can keep any or all of that disabled vehicle as long as it never goes back out on the road again. You're welcome to keep all of that. And that's where the scrap value comes in, is if you've taken off all things that are of value to you, then you send it to the scrap yard and then get the metal weight value of it. You're welcome. Anyone else have an idea or a question? So it's on a rolling basis for the Village of Eagle Nest. Right now, I have not received any applications so far. And for the DERA program, it's different from VW where there was a deadline. For DERA, we're on a rolling basis. So as the applications come in and I verify that they're eligible and suitable, then we make an award for whichever one came in first. And so if someone comes in and it exhausts all the funding that I have, then I'll close it and I'll make an announcement by listserv. But as they come in, it'll be on first come, first served basis. Plus I have the 2 pots of money that I mentioned, depending on how quickly the project can be deployed. So there's no hard deadline, just as soon as the applications come in and they're awarded, and then it'll exhaust the funding, and I'll notify people by listserv if it's been exhausted. So there's no hard deadline until it's all gone. Anything else? Okay, well, I appreciate your time. And if you have any questions, just email me or call me. Thank you.